Everybody get up, it's time to slam now.
Come on and slam, and welcome to the jam. Come on and slam, if you wanna jam.
Some days my body feels like a bomb or a battlefield, a war zone that I wake up in daily, and lately each day feels like a negotiation. And I'm both hostage and savior, both demon and saint, because they say I got a blood disorder, the kind of sickness that comes with no cure. The kind of blood that listens to no man, body so magic that God had to unhand me and then hand me all of this pain. So my veins are still searching for the healing that Big Pharma ran off with. I wonder why we spend so much time praising the medical system's progress and not mourning the warriors that they killed to get there. It's a shame that no one's listening unless the illness comes with a cash tag, and sickle cell ain't never been a popular hashtag. I guess black blood only becomes valuable when it's spilled by the police. Black pain is only important if it's plastered in the streets, but what about the survivors? The ones who wake up in bodies that betray them and then still make breakfast, still nourish the same vessel that's never loved them back. I'm tired of fighting in complete silence because no one shows up to the rally when technically the war is with yourself. A battle inside of those bones, and since can't nobody see it, they instead deem you crazy, a suicide social construct, because how can people support the fight if they don't even believe that it exists? Being black with a chronic illness is like spending every day planning your own funeral, or rehearsing your mother's number in case the last thing you ever do is call home. These doctors love us silent, love us grateful for nothing, love us dead for anything, would rather us beg to be believed, turn my hospital bed into a courtroom and my life into a death sentence. I can't even show up to battle without the morphine most days. My body is more broken down barrack than anything, so question, if no one ever steps on the grenade, does it even really exist? Gigolo, gigolo. My hands up high, my feet down low, and this the way I gigolo. My cousins and I grew up playing games like Manhunt and Simon Says. They prepared us to play pretend against our will, to become prey before preteens. In my family, we protect predators. We urge children to run three-legged races and adults to make them freeze upon contact. Here, we assimilate. We send ourselves down by the river where the green grass gets groomed, blame young girls for grieving the gestures of grim reapers. Then we tell the damsels in distress to have more decorum, trick teens into thinking their bodies are tic-tac-toe while hopscotching all over their healing, while mothers blame daughters for being hypersexual like it ain't someone's son who's seducing them. How can a young girl keep her innocence when a grown-ass man can't even keep his double-dutching dick to himself? They make uncles jump, have him salivating at the sight of his nieces, jingling their jungle gyms into Jumanjis, masking menacing manners by saying she's so mature. Miss Mary Mack with buttons all down her back, allowing adolescents to sit in his lap and no one thinks to call him on it, begging the kids to bop it, twist it, pull it, to dissect their dicks like a game of operation while he siphons her morals from underneath the table and no one is ever there to stop him. They hate how young girls zigzag into destruction like creepy Candyland cousins ain't already corrupt them. They never got a clue, only a closed casket, a Pandora box of antidepressant nightmares before Christmas while Santa slithers down the chimney to pickpocket pastries from prepubescent children. Family gatherings, eeny, meeny, miny, mow their way into pedophile rings, a place where victims' virginities are vetted and auctioned off to the highest hymen bidder. Hungry hypocrites turn safe spaces into hunting grounds because what good is a doe-eyed baby if you can't mold her to your liking? It's sickening for a family to demand decency from dependents, but make excuses for the tyrants that torture them. So many young girls will only ever know their bodies to be board games or spin the bottle battlefields. But I pray that the next movement of matriarchs patrol the pedophiles, catch the predators, punish the perpetrators instead of the child, so that these little girls can play their games in peace. For my family, food was something like prayer, baked into the Quran like a fresh loaf of bread, whispering over stovetops like secret salats because our kitchen was like a sanctuary. And my family learned to pray with all mouths full. My granny never measured a thing. Her fingers pinched salt like blessings, and her wrists stirred pots like she'd never allow us to go hungry. Trained her mouth to know what love tastes like. Taught her nose to smell before teaching her heart to love, because that's how she was raised, to love food more than she loves herself. And trauma keep us cooking for people who never feed us in return, folk that only show up when the table is set. So now I only know how to show up empty-hearted but never empty-handed, to tend to empty pots and empty myself into them. Pray another empty prayer over plates I can no longer empty. And how am I this empty anyway when my granny kept me so full of her love? I mean, her food. I mean, these days, I don't even know the difference between a happy spirit and a happy meal. I'm tired of letting my family feast on me, even if my bones taste like home, like Sunday afternoons with pots of curry stew for hours like greens that's been washed good, cause ain't no telling what kind of dirt they been through. And at this point, I don't know if I'm talking about the greens or the family, the way we break bread, just like we break promises. I'm learning to serve myself first without guilt, that sometimes it's okay to empty your pot clean, because how can you nurture a family if you're always starving for love? And now I don't know if these meals are saving me or killing me. Don't know if the butter that drips be healing me or holding me hostage, if this mac and cheese be a hymn or a eulogy, because my granny wasn't alive long enough to teach me the difference, but made sure she taught me how to make a rib fall off the bone, to season everything heavy and call it tradition, or candy the yams enough to make them forget the darkness that they came from. She never said, "I love you." She only ever said, "Come eat." Gave recipe cards disguised as love letters to cook up a generational trauma. Affection had a taste so unfamiliar that it never made its way into my family cookbook. So now I constantly crave her food, because Granny was a better chef than she was a conversationalist. I wish I knew how to have these hard conversations, but all I ever learned how to do is cooked.
And as Goldilocks finished her live stream review of artisanal porridges and bohemian sitting decor, the weight of her privilege suddenly started to tire her out. So she rested on the one bed that wasn't too dark, wasn't too colorful, but just white. Enter the unassuming bears from the Hard Work Off page, coming to find a Caucasian stranger taking up their space. But have you ever heard the bear's perspective? Heard where that script shifts from what we were told? Because no, Goldilocks does not leave. Goldilocks stays in the bed, claims she has been in that bed all along, that she owned the bed, that, well, actually, her people had discovered the land upon which the bed was built a long time ago. So technically, she has more of a right to it than they do. No, the Bears never owned the house. It was more like an extended rental. Anything saying otherwise is fake news, false narrative told by animals who don't know any better. Besides, who is society going to believe anyways? A pretty young white girl or these black beasts? See, Goldilocks is actually doing these bears a favor by retaking the area and then refashioning it into a trendy beaver bear fusion cafe, because her cousins, neighbors, sisters, uncle's dog once knew a bear in passing. So she's pretty much an expert. And the beaver part she'll just make up as she goes along. Besides, who gives a damn about cultural authenticity as long as we have free Wi-Fi? Excuse me? Bears? You have a problem with this? Bears? Was that a growl I just heard? Your tone sounds aggressive. Bears. Do we need to remind you, this forest does not belong to you. Your paws do not belong to you. Contrary to what you may have been led to believe, you do not have the right to bear arms, considering how prone to violence you bears tend to be. Stop fighting. Stop resisting. This is just one home, one bed. If you choose to make this a struggle, we can end this story right now. Forget the happily. We'll take you out of the ever after.
Ya no lloro. I am not crying anymore. Die, Democratic Turkey lovers to the north. Relinquish your grip on my hips. Silence your murmurs. Be still. Shh, your gaze. For Marxism will give me health once more. The hepatitis she suffers from perhaps was so stupid about, perhaps she asked for. Be gone, useless crutch. I sell you off to the rich. I auction off my hair, my teeth. I become something of a philanthropist, yet the real jewels are chunks of my spine. I imagine them so straight, perfectly centered, one atop the other, just the right amount of synovial fluid and cartilage that they glide when I move, making love to one another. I sometimes wish I had died giving birth. That would have been so different than the currency I carry, my dress pockets so heavy, the cervical cancer she bore, the orphan fetuses we share, the guilt, the blame, the improvised birth control, brought in the form of steel pole, could be a penis or an injury. A cancer form given to one from another. Expel, expel. Faith alone cannot carry a barren woman through life. She finds it hard to adapt, to be always smiling. She is missing her womanhood. It is in the hospital, the trash, the toilet, or at the end of the hall, perhaps in the hotel. Sometimes it lives for seconds amid the bed sheets, the sesame seed, or a stillborn, and the men look away at their hands or shoes, or maybe at another woman. Lest the revolutionaries make a miracle happen and fix me, fix us. It seems to me a silly dream. Those which we have fantasized about as women, a baby in our arms, healthy and alive. Or our mutilated bodies in the throes of labor, faces frozen, tearless, penniless, and without a comfort in the world to speak of. For a moment, he holds the fetus in his palm as if looking into the eye of a demon to exorcise, expels it once more, basura, to be disposed of. And how we are so often alone, alone in death and in our sufferings, empty alone. Pero ya no lloro por nadie jamás.
The windsock in the corner whips back forth when I wake. Dreams of departures and planes falling from the sky still hang above me. The storm clouds roll backwards in the violence of the morning, so I'll stay in another day. It's broken glass when I breathe in. Didn't finish my dinner last night, threw half away, then woke up hungry. Trapped in my safe place, stuck with sad songs on repeat, while this haunted space waits to be filled by something that isn't coming. I find the bottom of this bottle and the answer is missing, but I'll keep looking there. Living in the shadows, eyes become weak, light becomes pain, bodies break down. You write about roadkill and missing me. My words flow from every time I've been traumatized. Bipolar, they say, like that's supposed to mean something more than more pills to take with food twice daily. What happens if I lose faith in the miracle? What if I bite the healing hand and turn on the treatment? Some poor practitioner wondering why this patient just won't get better. On a scale of 1 to 5, evaluate the following statements. Everything is my fault. My friends and family know I failed. Depression is calling me back to bed. Despair is so close, I can smell her. I feel hopeless. If I document, is it testimony? If I cry, is it truth? Am I trying hard enough to get better? Expect gusts of wind up to 50 miles per hour, pressure rising, and general fuckery that's hard to measure. Reporting from the bunker, deep within the storm, your favorite nobody, Nemo Sum.
Selfish, that's up for debate. They say suicide is selfish, and I think it's the exact opposite. I feel like the people who want you to stay here are the selfish ones, because often you're asked to stay, but what are you staying for? Because this life comes with depression, mania, addiction, trauma, hypersexuality, canceled plans, financial setbacks, and needing constant help. Not just the funny version, not the resilient version, not just the poet, not just the strong friend, the whole package. So when you ask me to stay, can you handle what staying looks like? Let me be very clear before we go on, because I can see the wheels turning. It's not necessarily that I want to die. I want to do more than just survive. I want to live. But it's hard to live with your brain fighting against you, when you're in constant contradiction with people. You can't tell me to stay and then treat me like an obligation when I'm already feeling like a burden. You can't tell me to stay, then I reach out to tell you how I'm feeling and you hand me toxic positivity. You can't want me to stay, but then when I inconvenience you, make me feel guilty about it, give me a lecture, gossip about me to your friends and family. You can't ask me to stay and then point out all my failures and all my flaws and tell me that I used to be strong. I didn't become weak. I broke. So as much as you want me to stay, can you handle what me staying looks like? That's the real question. Not whether suicide is selfish. If I stay here, where is the real support? Because I've done the therapy, I've gone to church, I've prayed, I've taken the medicine, I've meditated, I've exercised, I've found a hobby, I've written books, letters, poems, you name it. And it's still there. It's never quiet. It's as if I can't escape it. So which one of us is selfish? Because what you're asking is for someone to stay when they're in constant pain. If my disease was cancer and I was at the last stage, would you be asking me to stay? Because depression is a disease too. At times it feels terminal, and I'm not saying that I'm leaving. This is more an expression of feelings of what it's like to live day to day and then hear things like suicide is selfish. That's really up for debate.
We embraced our shadowy desires, even as the silvery moon swallowed the night with its luminance. I was 21 and passionately hot. She was young, beautiful, her Ghanaian ebony smile, hugging my heart's fire with its allure and charisma. Our emotions danced in the intense stillness of the night, even as the stars twinkled vibrantly with the joys of our encounters, shooting messages with flares for Andromeda to celebrate the artistic arias of our rhythms. In the hush of this wintry night, we blanketed our nakedness with the warmth of her fiery breath, whispering I love yous in the engaging elements. She's saying nakupenda sana, yo te amo muchísimo, I love you so much, as our souls merged in delight. We embrace into an affinity of nights and moons, nuestro amor, our love smelling of scarlet roses, adorning the floral aesthetics of the room's ambience. Discarding inhibitions, we became lost in our Garden of Eden, wrapped tightly in sugarcane juice. Even as time faded, we going beyond horizons to the pinnacle of delights. Who says there is no melody and rhythm? Our bodies dance as if seduced by the bewitching notes of the songs of Solomon, fingers and palms perusing everywhere, painting calligraphy in the heat of our passions, more sublime than our Nubian princesses. Our pace deliberate, teasing, picks up, drowned only by the aroma of our chocolate labors. We smile alluringly as Marvin's Hagamos el amor esta noche, let's make love tonight, resonates in tempo to our tempestuous passions. Mirando a través de las ventanas de mi casa, the heavens covered our darkness, we blend into the dawn like sunrise does to daybreak, seduced into revealing our silhouettes by the allure of spicy and turbulent cravings. Way into the corridors of our intentions, I played with the olive gleamer of a melanin tone as we merge breath kissing breath, saying everything, speaking nothing. Now I can smell the flames of emotions to the brim in this so timely moment of love. Ahora la gracia del amor, I'm on the ascendancy, and the sweet breeze of relevant oils in which we bathe here takes us into what was once unfamiliar territory, known only to the goddess Venus. I know that constellations has covered us with genius for esta noche. Tonight, we are creative artists exploring the dizziest.
Breaking up big rocks on the chain gang. Breaking rocks is serving my time. Breaking rocks in here on the chain gang. Cause I've been convicted of crime. But hold it steady right here while I hit it out. I reckon that ought to get it. Been working, Lord, working. Still got so terrible long to go. I'm in a recovery program from Western civilization. Epigraph. Recent statistics reveal that 2 out of every 3 black males between the ages of 20 and 29 are incarcerated on parole or on probation. This poem livicated to them is called I'm in a recovery program from Western civilization. Once they gave me that social security number, I knew how Jews felt in Auschwitz. I wasn't even asked. Here they said, you're a citizen. Pay us. Vote for us. Call it democracy or starve. Punch the clock. All worth is by the hour. Time is gold, and he who defines wins. The unemployment lines grow faster than cancer on a prostate. The welfare line is shorter than no paycheck. Life gets uglier than a boil on a redneck's neck. The talk shows blame everything on the economically disadvantaged. The mayor says move if you can't find a job. Fascism rises like a silent fart, quiet but deadly. Negroes act like ostriches. Panhandling is illegal. City Hall fans the flames on the battlefield of race, but whatever happened to government for all the people? And did you vote to lose your job? Does repression really breed resistance, or is this just some mad fantasy? All I know is the fat cats got their hooks in me. And I sure wish 1 million black men in atonement on the White House lawn had done much more than trample the grass, especially in Washington, the District of Columbia, the last plantation and apartheid colony in this US of A, where the citizens have no vote. And by the way, South Africa, now that you can mark X on the ballot, can you spend it? Can you take it to the bank where the Krugerrand rules and is worth much more than a US dollar bill? And did you get your fill and did you get your land back? Does democracy really hold the keys to freedom? She's incarcerated in a criminal injustice system, a very criminal system of justice. She's sitting on a $125,000 cell on death row with life out parole. You know freedom. She's stamping out license plates and sewing blue jeans, breaking rocks on a Mississippi chain gang. Got a master's degree in economics and is doing life for being the truth. Damn, does it seem like slavery's in style again? Well, the brother knows there are no more doors for spooks to sit by. Gonna see my sweet honey baby. Huh. Gonna break this chain on a rock. Gonna lay down somewhere shady. Lord, the show is hot in the somewhere. Hold it steady right here while I hit it down. Reckon that ought to get it. Been working, Lord working, and I still got so terrible long to go. Huh.
Allow me to introduce myself. I am Policy. Though depending on the century, you may know me by other names: protection, tradition, compliance, or perhaps I meet you at gate B17, where a woman, Black, plus size, already carrying more than luggage, learns I have evolved again. Sometimes I arrive wearing a name badge, smiling, politely explaining this accommodation exists for your comfort and for the comfort of the passenger beside you. Comfort, one of my favorite disguises, because comfort sounds kind, reasonable, necessary, until one day comfort requires your discomfort. The subject displayed predictable responses: confusion, embarrassment, compliance. Excuse me, let's not skip past the part where I had to beg. The part where I spent 30 minutes becoming every past version of myself that I had worked so hard to overcome. The part where you looked at me once and decided you knew my body better than I did. Processing. Statement irrelevant. Assessment remains unchanged. The suspect disputed the assessment. The conclusion remained unchanged. I got on that plane, sat in one seat, needed only one seat, exactly like I said I would. Processing. Outcome irrelevant. Policy is not designed to determine right or wrong. Policy determines compliance. And there it is. The reason you survive every administration, not because you are right, because you're never asked to be. Processing. Statement verified. You misunderstand. I did not meet her at gate B17. I arrived earlier. Inside classrooms, doctor's offices, workplaces, every room requiring she became less. Airports were simply where she recognized me. I was here long before airplanes. I sat quietly inside maps, drawing lines through neighborhoods, approved which water fountains deserve thirst, determined how many fifths of a person constituted personhood. An efficient calculation, a widely accepted policy at the time, learned to pronounce deportation before children could. Calculated whose suffering qualified for inconvenience. You think I happen in extraordinary moments. No, I thrive under repetition. The ordinary. Daily calculations performed before entering rooms. Funny thing about humans, you rarely notice me when I happen to other people. When I separate families, restrict books, redraw districts, you call me complicated, political, not your issue until inconvenience acquires your measurements. Before suffering always sounds so administrative until it arrives wearing your name. I have survived every administration, not because I am loved, because I adapt. Softer language, new logos, updated terminology, because humans resist violence more readily than inconvenience. And by the time you realize I have arrived wearing your name, I have usually already been living in your house for years. Processing. Statement verified. If this is your final destination or wherever your travels may take you, we sure do hope you'll consider flying Southwest Airlines again. We hope to see you again real soon.
Pray that you didn't miss the bus. There's an energy drink dancing down your throat, and all you can contemplate is creators on the moon. Last night you dreamt that you were a carnival act, being blasted 50 feet into the air from a cannon in a cute girl's mouth. She simply said, I love you. Like I love you was never guilty of being a flight risk, could ever safely land a cracked heart and a crooked smile. Beware of first class tickets to tumbling boulders. Beware of boarding passes and weight limits and unchecked personal baggage carried off by ghost and remixed into power ballads. Beware of hard rock bands and or hard rock crack rock out gods with their groupies and backstage passes and the fallen and their fallen and their hard hitting headstones that just keep falling for headaches and encores with mudslides voted most likely to not be mistaken and or taken lightly in fist fights with lightning that ain't never seen anything of my likes. Even ain't never scared anything that I'm like. I'm no longer fighting gods for their innocence. No longer fighting for my slipping grips on my innocence. Now I'm fighting over unholy warlords, bench warrants, and every guilty ongoing, going in and off and on every one of my convictions. And these guilty ass sentences as if all I grim reaped wasn't all I ever sowed. As if I wasn't always harvested from fruitful grapes of wrath that wasn't always all ready to come in with what wasn't already bruised in. A headliner headlining a headstone. Right now my father's name is still starring in an unmarked grave. Oh Jesus, take the wheel, cause I keep outlawing it, calling God out by his goddamn government name, pulling up to every collection plate bent off a bottle of Clark Kent smelling like leave me the fuck alone. Yo, it's so hard to call on God from anywhere when our phone booths are gone. What does a mortal man say to a lowercase God? I'm sorry. You're an attention whore. I really am.
My teacher would say a hero stands for a truth just us couldn't understand, even when comics can be gods, but men can't be men. So I raised my hand to ask, Miss Pasty, when are heroes that look like me gonna show up? All I see in my hood are hoods in hoods, turn sweatshirts to sweatshops, home fields to hurt lockers. I thought they're supposed to save people, but all I see is them saving themselves, the hassle of jumping into action to save her, whether be a slayer, maybe a savior, then it's all hands on beautifully bloody body bags. With kabuki theater egos painted on there, I just had to do something so I wouldn't die. Nothing filtered facial expressions. Cold pressing purpose just to squeeze out turmoil. Harvesting grapes of wrath to cultivate new seeds for strange fruit trees. Stop. Please stop thinking blood on leaves is a salad. Dressing up as a Garden of Eden, when it's more of a good and evil cookout in Karma's backyard. Love wasn't invited, cause she tends to mend fences with her optimism-colored blind eyes. But ain't your eternity for sale? How many Dear God letters have you written hoping a hero doesn't make it in time? Dear pill bottles turned hesitant hotline. I thought it was Beelzebub's home number. I was trying to make a collect call. Dear slit wrists, with hungry mouths wide open, eating final seconds like end credits. I'm hanging on for a blackout. I am a hallelujah, good morning, beautiful, one page turn away from being fallen angel. Good night, sweetheart. Let these sinner twice removed on my father's side arms hold you tight as this love-colored straitjacket keeping my heart from eating itself alive. My blood has become a cannibal, chasing the stigmata in my throat like purgatory's pastime since last time when my graveyard rose-petal teeth spoke in a tombstone's native tongue to eat my breath for breakfast. Misery and confidence are pissy drunk singing uncry these tears to broken-hearted thunderstorms, raining facts and demagogues that fancy themselves demigods, dear bottom of a bottle. They're trying to resurrect their God again with gunpowder and vomit, mask their conglomerate as church, make you kneel, say it's procedure, proper protocol for lost souls. Pay your toll or play your role, swallow this. Heroes will never look like convicted felons, never take shapes of slaves, cage birds, tap dancers on last nerves, or outlaws who wouldn't even open a book if they were an icon on every page, dear Ruger. We are done with your sell me a dream and I'll make you a nightmare. Tungsten is cheap, lead is cheaper, and Grim Reapers write death notes with firing pins and embalming fluid to ink you into a forever's forgotten memories. I asked my teacher, which genocide are you on? She replied, the white side of the Right House, where heroes step into limelights as colorful pages and are always dressed to kill.
The movie A Bug's Life taught me that an ant's nature is to be functional, efficient, more machine than organism. Did you know that ants don't sleep through the night? They take hundreds of micronaps. Colonies of worker ants find their rest on ceilings and walls of their nesting chambers. I can't imagine having a house that I can't make into my home. Not because of heartbreak, but because of nature. How are ants supposed to fend off the circle of life creatures when what's natural is for them to fall in line? Did you know that grasshoppers don't sleep at night? Or that grasshoppers sleep at night? No alarms, whips, or chains for work in the morning, although they do sleep with their eyes open due to their lack of eyelids. This is how grief curses bloodlines, makes descendants of cruelty blind, so much so that they make themselves deities in the minds of others. Isn't that desperate? To put on a costume of control instead of cultivating the crescent shining in their own dreams. Their sleep must be full of so much terror that opening their eyes to their mistreatment of others is an impossibility. They've mastered the art of entering REM after massacres. Oh, how they must be drowning their shrieks out with the howls of their helots in order for their nature to stay the course. They must camouflage their monsters so well that they blend in with the flowers. They believe they're just as beautiful, that the flowers are their kin, and they sweet talk villages into indoctrinized plantations. Ain't it funny that grasshoppers sleep clinging to plant stems and leaves? How everything that gives them life is something they lean on in order to live. No thank yous given to the chattels they step on. Gratitude ain't a part of their ecosystem. Meanwhile, generations of ants are born already knowing they won't ever lie down. Never heard of two 15-minute breaks and a 30-minute lunch. They live lives without beds to come home to, but I understand why the grasshoppers in the movie didn't prepare for an uprising like they should have. They've never looked at dawn under the same morning that ants have, the same yearning to know the difference between day and night. Sunrises and sunsets are not a luxury when you've never blinked and missed miracles. Grasshoppers didn't consider that ants are excellent predators when they work together. It's a good thing that grasshoppers sleep with their eyes open. They need to be able to wake at the drop of a thorax. Grasshoppers ain't the only ones with wings. There's a reason ants who have them are known as swarmers. They start new colonies on the corpses of those towering over them, flying too close to the sun, calling themselves gods in their pantheon of phallic principles produced from piggybacking their preposterous posteriors. The movie A Bug's Life influenced an entire generation to believe that ants are only ever bred to work, to provide food for the anointed ones, the ones with comfort and rest. Please remember this.
A line worker in a factory can't start a union without vocal cords. Mutiny shouldn't surprise those that DNA has afforded the skills to see revolution coming. However, they'd have to face their nightmares first.
My father asked me to remember him in song. Brian McKnight lyrics that drip from his mouth onto every young moment I have. So beautiful. It almost became my first memory. Replaced only by my mother's cry becoming a victory trumpet, his favorite instrument to hum undercooked apologies to. And though some things may change, in those moments, I'll be forever. Crystallized in pigtails, hand-me-downs, and the purest parts of him that could love me. After all, I'm just a girl with a few more years. A bruised map to all of my father's unhealed hurt, askew compass, whose true north points to men that at a glance call to me, good to see you again. Like we've met in another lifetime, when really, they'll recognize a Black boy's pain on any parchment. No matter if it's finger coiled and splattered across tan skin, this familiar love will take us both back home. Back to Daddy. Wearing absence in different colors, packing gentleness away in the box marked fragile, in the living room, still harmonizing to hyperventilation. In the garage, hitting runs while reorganizing empty promises. You know, the first time my depression almost won, I made a playlist, called it Listen Before I Go. Filled it with songs that sit on your tongue like a pill for a little too long. Melodies that when mixed with guilt become too hard to swallow and are bound to leave a medicine aftertaste burning the back of your throat that can't be washed down with sweet tea and denial. This was something my dad would never karaoke to. And no matter how many times bitterness bubbled up, I still played it. Because at least the lyrics were mine this time. My voice could carry notes not forced into any memory but its own, so beautiful. It almost became my memoriam.
All I got is cigarettes and prayers. Whispered to midnight air and morning skies, they be a promise, a hope, a death wish, all rolled into tears that burn, eyes watching God and Satan battle in swirls of gray madness. Don't you question my commitment. Because faith is the hope that you have enough to outlast the midnight, to outrun the darkness. Have you been here before? Sitting on the edge of surviving yesterday and a tomorrow that's ready to give you all she's got, just waiting for the light to break. And you're scared of what it may reveal because you changed your name to Reckless or Abandoned Hope, and you're choking on the words you didn't speak, so you smoke. Just blow out the emotions trapped in your lungs. You couldn't breathe anyway, suffocated with sultry satire, the thrill of the ride. You carpe diem yourself until you find yourself sitting in an empty parking lot trying to figure out how you fell off. Rearview mirrors peekaboo your reflection. Ain't hindsight a beautiful bitch you never learned to call friend? Karma is always holding your hand, and God is just the best person to blame. Trust is a luxury I can't seem to afford. Truth depends on who's telling their side of the story. Apologies come about as quick as he does when he knows he's wrong in the morning. Cigarettes and prayers are all I got left. Don't you question my addiction. I've spent years waking up on the wrong side of logic. I've got battle scars of self-inflicted excuses to prove my competence. Don't you question my intelligence. I know a defensive stance when I see one. I know how lies curl the lip before they are spoken, how guilt trips the tongue, and how tears are the easiest cop-out. Bartender, top off my drink.
because the empty glass leaves too much room to think, and that's what you're trying to avoid, right? Because sanity is a symptom of those still willing to fight, and I'm not sure if I have any left, sanity or fight, because my gray clouds got silver linings of still pride. Frustration thunders in my chest. I will tornado my way through your request to calm down. Don't you tell me to calm down. Have you been here before? When the thing that may kill you is in turn saving your life. When the thing that can save your life is killing you to submit to cigarettes and prayers offered to God in their own right, offered up at midnight.
Come here, sweetheart. We love you. We just want you right with God, so lift your hands. Close your eyes, renounce it. Renounce that woman. In the name of Jesus, I command the gay to come out. Loose her. Loose her. And I was 40 years old. Not a child. A grown woman with death standing close enough to fog the mirror. A woman with a body already fighting to stay earthside. Scared enough to reach for heaven with both hands. And the church saw my fear as an opening. They didn't catch me young. They caught me vulnerable. They caught me sick. They caught me trying to make peace with God and turned heaven into a checkpoint. They said, you can come in, but not whole. You can come in, but leave your love outside the gate. That blue room, that fluorescent lit cage dressed up as deliverance. They gathered around me like I was a problem God forgot to solve. They clapped, they slapped, they commanded, one hand on my forehead, one hand gripping my wrist like heaven needed witnesses to the hostage situation, and I stood there, stunned, ashamed, terrified, trying to pass the entrance exam for eternity. Do you know what it does to a dying woman to tell her God's love has a border? To tell her heaven may not want her unless she amputates the truest part of herself? It wasn't ministry. That was the spiritual extortion. That was emotional blackmail with choir robes on. That was a church holding heaven over my head like a locked door and saying, we have the key, but see, the truth is they lied. God was not in the slap. God was not in the clap. God was not in the command. God was, though, the witness. God was the breath that stayed with me when their theology tried to leave me hollow, and now I know my gayness was never the thing blocking me from God. Their control was. Their cruelty was. Their need to turn my deathbed into their victory lap was. Because what kind of church looks at a dying woman and says, before you meet God, let us make sure you hate yourself correctly? No, that was not the spirit. That was fear dressed in white. That was shame speaking in tongues. That was power laying hands on a vulnerable woman and calling the bruise a blessing. But let's role play again. Come here, sweetheart. We love you. Renounce the gay before it's too late. And no, not this time. This time I'm not the one in the middle of the room. This time I'm the minister. I come back with oil in my voice, fire in my lungs, scripture in my bones, and every ancestor who survived bad religion standing behind me like thunder. And this time I lay hands on my own chest first and say, God, thank you for leaving with me. And then I turn to the elders in the pulpit, to the whole assembly that mistook my terror for testimony, and I say, church, come to the altar, bring your fear, bring your control, bring your little heaven with a locked door, bring every doctrine you use to make God sound like a weapon. I've seen what possesses you. It was never me. It was domination. It was cowardice. It was shame with a church fan. It was control wearing Sunday white. So in the name of God who did not make me to beg humans for mercy, I rebuke every lie you planted in me. I rebuke every condition you attached to heaven. I rebuke every church that made a dying woman audition for grace. And I send your shame back to its sender. I send your fear back to its pulpit, and I send your bullshit back to the altar where you first learned to worship power and call it God. I'm not your deathbed conversion, and I'm not your blue room testimony. I am the woman who survived your conditions, and I'm the minister now. And every lie you left inside me, come out.
Imagine we're in the purge. All crime, including murder, is legal for 12 hours. An obvious attempt by the rich to dispose of us for profit, but I know how to stop it. Hear me out. The likelihood of us making six figures is 1 out of 10. Those noble 10 control 2/3 of the wealth. Money, almost 2/3 of armed robberies walk away with, putting our heist and their hoard on equal footing. So fuck the grudges. Let's rob a bank. These banks leave us crumbs, credit capitalized by thieves, bread they refused to break. My father, who only wanted a slice, a teenager who dropped out of high school to help feed his siblings, a family whose only hope for dough was making it out the hood, generations of poverty enforced by policies from bias to motherhood penalties, preventing Black people and women from climbing ladders my mother fell from in middle school. She lost her job. A company she worked for since I was a child left her with apologies and mouths to feed. I told her to not worry about my birthday, only making her feel worse. I wonder why my stepdad was never at the dinner table. I wanted to scrap until I found out he got a second job. Sacrificing his stomach to make ends meet, we needed to live, leading a team as the man of the house, a home broken by processes, slowly bleeding us dry from pay gaps, constantly endured in college. I cooked up the 725 ways to survive. My life, valued lower than McDonald's meals I couldn't afford. Ramen was my only rescue. Soup fed with a plastic fork, not a silver spoon. I realized soon the system was made with glass ceilings and paper floors. Banks weren't built to help the poor, and since those crooks refused to share, bucket kicking the doors, clear the shelves, take the gold. They beg for help, deny the loan. Don't forget, we low on food, so rob Paul and Peter too. Give those executives a taste of all the plates they left empty. Lord knows the pain of these stomachs on empty as shit gets sticky in this lick. Every woman gets a blick, every baby a stick. Hit their district with nines. It's time to take back all the candy those suckers ever stole. If they get in my way, I'm up in the pole. Revenge is a dish best served cold. Our grudges ain't ghosts. They got smiles of posts, hearts heavy from hunger and sadness. They called us crazy, so answer with madness. Fuck being patient. It's time to eat. Today in the kitchen, let's turn up the heat. Make the bank the projects. Treat them like objects, property, with only one condition. Every politician sitting behind a picket fence, smash all their windows and pots to piss. And once we're finally full off their fear, only then will they know what it's like to starve.
In the 2003 hit song Let's Get It Started by the Black Eyed Peas, if you look a little closer at the original titling, you'll find a trove of hatred buried inside the atlas of a party anthem. You see, if you remove the word it, replace the letter S with the letters R and E, replace the third to last letter T with a D, you get a slur. As if autistic folks haven't already jumped through enough hoops for you to make a circus act out of all our suffering. As if we aren't used to being both the soundtrack and the laugh track. That 1-2 punch lined up for everyone else's red solo cup of laughter. That running joke gone wrong, because in this context there is nothing but disrespect. As you surround sound your sympathies, turn up the volume on your stereotypes. The way we try to address all the ways you undress our dignity, only for you to have us free. Ease while everybody claps their hands. Because it's so much easier for us to feel more like mannequins than akin to our own fellow man. It's so much easier for us to always be on pause, like a bad Instagram glitch, than to follow the upbeat while the rest of the world wants to keep us on a downbeat. And frankly, I'm just tired. I'm tired of you using that same word and the same connotation you'd say piss, shit, fuck, yes, sir, ma'am, God bless. Will you make us feel so goddamned? I'm tired of having to turn my words into a playground for alliteration when they should be written as an urgent letter of defiance. I'm tired of having to give you all a reason to dance when I should be giving you a reason to protest a system that was never built for brains that work like ours. I'm tired of having to give the same damn lecture because I know this won't be one. It sure as hell won't be my last one. But you're the one who tells me I'm using repetition too much in this poem. I'm tired of the fact that you keep that song running on repeat while so many people are running on empty. Maybe that's why I'm stuttering back and forth between my words. Maybe that's why they're jumbling back and forth like a really bad game of Boggle. Maybe that's why this beat doesn't sound the same. I just want you to play a different song. I'm tired of having to state the obvious. I'm tired of having to lecture you about a word that you consider politically incorrect when really it's hate speech. I'm tired. I just want you to change your tune.
I took what I thought were top shelf poems to a poetry slam competition. Imagine my surprise when they got scores that placed them at the bottom. I looked at my poems laying in the gutter, wondering what they did wrong to strike out. My poems looked back at me, expecting empathy, waiting for me to tell them, the points are not the point. The point is the poetry. I ain't say no bullshit like that. I Joe Jackson my poems. I asked them, yo, want to spend your life working in an open mic factory? My poems mention something about their mental health. Mental health, my ass. You better get your ass out on that stage and bring me my scores. I have scores of poems I consider top shelf. Black excellence poems. Poems that went to a poetry slam and got slammed into the concrete. The poem wanted to know, what did I do? Why y'all doing this? I looked over the page, looked down on this bloody header and bruised body, wondering what the poem did to get a footer up its ass. The poem looked suspicious. The poem made sudden movements. The poem resisted. The poem boarded on itself. The poem. Sometimes I wonder about the poem. What are my poems doing wrong at the slam? Or maybe my poems are at the wrong slam. One thing's for certain. Before I submit my poem to judges, I ask myself, who are my poems for? My poems are for Black people named Pookie and Gator. My poems are for people in recovery and those who remember Marvin Gaye being murdered by his father on April Fool's Day. My poems are for people who were touched by an angel or their babysitter. My poems are for people who had no babysitter. I write latchkey poems, poems that identify with broken hearts, broken homes, and being broke. You know what? I went to Starbucks yesterday and it almost broke my budget. $4.08 for a small black coffee. But at least I saw a familiar face sitting by the outlet and it eased the financial sting. It was a poet whose pen I envy. He always looked so great on the stage, but behind the scenes, it was a different story. He shared some backstory. He said, I'm sorry. I'm so broken. I'm a piece of shit. What could I say? Other than, damn, son, you must have just finished competing at a poetry slam.
Dear God, please do not forsake me. Please do not forget about me. Do not fail me. I am hurting. Am I really too sick? Too broken? A butterfly with its wings that got clipped too short, too soon? Mirror, mirror on the wall. Watch me break. Watch me fall. Wait, that can't be right. Hold on. Mirror, mirror on the wall. Who is the fairest of them all? Oops, wrong again. Mirror, mirror on the wall. Fuck my reflection. That's not who stares back at me at all. Sorry, gotta turn the page. Why is my mirror cursed, Lord? Unwavering self-love, undoubtedly self-doubt? How am I supposed to stay strong? Love my big body as it suffers from a health drop. How can I get someone to love me when I am having trouble loving me? Hospital admission after hospital admission as these doctors misdiagnose and flop. I call out to you, Lord, through tears, through joy, through my pain, through my begging and pleading. My mental stability declines as my chronic illness grows. A slave to my sickness is all I now know. Please, Lord, I need a little love dose, some healing, any form of relief. Don't let this pain from my illness guide me or my pockets to the streets. Do you love me, Lord, in sickness and in health? Every day fighting this battle when I'd rather be dead in a ditch. Dear God, I really need you to heed this call. This can't be the time I finally fall. Please let the mirror have it all wrong.
This is the art of surviving a mind on fire. I'll wait out with you a few steps, just so we can feel the tug of the current pulling at our ankles together. In the hospital, I lay on my pallet with my mind on fire. I kept replaying the story about the saint who asked to be turned over while they were cooking him. The cocktail of prescription meds they had me on should have had me sleeping easily, but I could not find any quiet. This went on for hours until I felt a pressure on the small of my back, like someone sat down on this side of my bed. I finally calmed and slipped into a fitful sleep. Preheat oven to 375 degrees. Line a cookie sheet with parchment paper. Mix flour, baking soda, and salt set aside. Cream butter and sugar. Add egg and vanilla extract. Combine wet and dry ingredients while incorporating chocolate. Scoop into balls and distribute evenly on prepared sheets. Bake for 10 minutes. Turn halfway through for even browning. I knew it was a dream when one of the elephants stopped short with its foot still mid-air. The rider slid down its back, grumbling, and opened the side of the elephant to reveal gauges and knobs and buttons of all shapes and sizes. After he banged on a few things, the elephant belched black smoke and started moving again. I wished for a chocolate shop behind me, and when I turned, it was there. I don't remember who said it, but we told the oncologists that she'd been fainting. Their faces lost all expression and color, and they glanced at each other before responding. Before we knew it, tests had been ordered, and we were downstairs waiting for her to get her brain scan. When she was diagnosed, they'd done a body scan for tumors, but didn't include her head. So if any of the cancer had gotten into her brain, it would explain the fainting, and it would kill her within months. The imaging hallway was barren and cold. She had switched her shirt out for a hospital gown, and she shivered as we sat on a bench and waited for them to call her. I held her hand. We didn't say anything. The secret ingredient is fine ground white cornmeal. It gives the cookies some grit and texture. Most stores only carry medium grind yellow cornmeal. I find it too crunchy in baked goods. Even in the South, it can be hard to find the good stuff. At the sound of the bell, played the other side of the tape. Please wait for your floppy drive to finish formatting. There's a call on the landline from the newspaper guy. I cannot think of anything to say about vacuum tubes. Her cancer woke us both up. 5 years later, I left my home in the back of an ambulance. 1 year later, I was divorced. That was 5 years ago. I wasn't ready. Stacks of yesterday, dusty discs stored dusty with memories stuffed between. Lonely socks with partners long ago discarded. 2 small shirts I've been keeping for something that isn't going to happen now. A pair of my daughter's shorts she's grown out of. I found a souvenir from a honeymoon that doesn't matter anymore. Pictures I can't see, Music I can't play, memories that don't fit anymore. Tears that won't stop coming, falling on the remnants of another man's life. The falcon in its metaphysical garments watches the red clouds spin sour. Centripetal cityscapes blinking endlessly so the submarines can see them coming. My dog's name is Walter, after my grandfather. My floor is littered with shredded stuffed animal skins, their stuffing and squeakers long ago removed and discarded, their choking hazards. Walter sleeps with me at night. His favorite place to curl up is right in the small of my back.
You're so bipolar. It's so funny, I almost forgot to laugh. It's never funny, but you all think it's hilarious. A misused term said out of ignorance. Do you know what it really means to be bipolar? It's not just mood swings and misdirected anger. It's not having multiple personalities like you think. It's not funny. It's not cute. Actually, it's quite embarrassing. It's racing thoughts. It's talking faster than everyone else. It's feeling unstoppable. It's grand ideas. It's big plans. It's increased confidence. It's less need for sleep. It's increased impulsivity. It's spending out of control. You will spend your whole life savings and your 401k. It's hypersexuality. It's low. It's really, really, really low depression. It's exhaustion. It's hopelessness. It's loss of interest in things you love. It's isolating from people. It's feeling numb. It's crying for no obvious reason. Difficulty concentrating, feeling like a burden, thoughts of death or not wanting to exist, struggling with basic tasks, sleeping too much or not sleeping enough, feeling disconnected from yourself and the whole world, not knowing which version of you will show up or wake up, constantly checking your emotional temperature, wondering if your feelings are real or symptoms, living in fear of the next episode, medication adjustments, therapy, learning coping skills, monitoring sleep, trying to maintain stability, grieving the version of yourself you used to be, learning how to accept the version of yourself that you are. These are the things that people don't talk about. The shame after the episode, apologizing for things you did while manic, missing the energy of mania even when it was destructive. People only notice you when you're struggling, being told to be positive, being told to pray, having a good day and wondering how long it will last, feeling misunderstood, being seen as too much, masking symptoms to make others feel comfortable, exhaustion from constantly managing your brain, living with a volume knob that doesn't stay put, emotional weather changing without warning, a brain that refuses to use the middle lane, a pendulum swinging between extremes, chasing stability like it's a moving target. This is bipolar, carrying both sunshine and thunderstorms in the same body. So no, stop saying you're acting bipolar.
You know, the reason we're here is cause there's a big market. In other words, it's about that cash. Now I know y'all thought I was some kind of patriot, seeing I was a scout for the Union and all. But truth be told, this was a good cover so that I could travel back and forth following the North Star, guiding my folk to freedom. Now y'all's Bible says that the love of money is the root to all evil. So I ain't so sure I want my face on that legal tender. Martin's kinda conflicted about it too, seeing he's a preacher and all. I'm sure his dream didn't include being sold for gold on the open market. That just seemed like slavery again. Not that we ain't honored for being remembered. In fact, since y'all invoke y'all's ancestors with statues and whatnot, we might as well be invoked too. But what I really need to know is, since y'all paper don't have no gold backing it, and y'all reneged on that 40 acres on a mule deal, I want to know, where's the reparations? Well, you may think of some kind of fools. It's too late for 40 acres and a mule. The debt is way overdue. Where's the reparations? Where's the reparations? I want to know, tell me now, where's the reparations? Well, you may think I'm some kind of fool. It's too late for 40 acres and a mule. The debt is 400 years overdue. Where's the reparations?
Scientists call it quantum entanglement, the phenomenon where two particles become so deeply connected that changing one instantly affects the other. Across distance, time, across impossibility, scientists act surprised. Black women never do. We've been carrying people across impossible distances for generations. A grandmother's fear still vibrating up in my calendar, a mother's survival strategy disguised as my personality. Scientists call it entanglement. I call it somebody else's lesson still paying rent inside my nervous system. What fascinates me isn't the connection. It's that nobody can point to where it lives. Scientists can prove it, measure it, observe it, but ask them where the connection is, and suddenly everybody starts sounding like a preacher explaining God. It's there, trust us. Black women know that feeling too, because where exactly does the connection live? Which organ stores the instinct to apologize before speaking? What muscle tightens every time I choose myself? Which chromosome contains the urge to volunteer for one more thing while my own cup is filling missing person reports? Show me the scan. Point to the tissue, circle it in red. Tell me where they implanted the belief that being needed and being loved are the same thing. Scientists call it wave function collapse. The moment infinite possibilities become one outcome. Isn't that just like a Black woman? To make a quantum leap into becoming the quietest version of herself to avoid the perception of a messy entanglement. Black women call it adulthood, because watch how fast a little Black girl full of galaxies collapses into the version of herself that gets called manageable. Watch possibility shrink itself for public consumption. Watch brilliance fold itself into politeness. Watch a woman reduce a universe of options down to one acceptable answer. No, I'm fine. The greatest lie ever produced by particle physics. Scientists call it superposition. The ability to exist in multiple states simultaneously. Black women call it a basic random Tuesday. Strong enough to carry it, soft enough to comfort it, wise enough to solve it, expected to survive it, a walking contradiction held together by caffeine, prayer, and calendar reminders. Both exhausted and functioning, breaking and performing wellness, needing help and coordinating everyone else's. Schrodinger never met a Black woman because a baby, we've been alive and dead tired at the same damn time. Then there's the observer effect. Scientists discovered that measuring a thing changes the thing. Black women could have told them that for free. Watch what happens the second a room starts looking. Confidence becomes arrogance. Boundaries become attitude. Standards become difficult. Watch a woman edit herself in real time. Lower the volume. Soften your edges. Round off the true. Shrink the brilliance. Not because she changed, because observation did. Scientists call it inheritance. I call it data transfer because long before I got here, somebody uploaded survival directly into my bloodstream. Somebody taught my DNA how to anticipate disappointment, how to mistake burnout for achievement, how to confuse self neglect with love, how to wear exhaustion like a family heirloom. Then healing showed up, behaving like a rogue particle, ignoring every equation I built my life around, asking reckless questions like, what if rest is productive? What if joy is useful? What if your worth is not performance review? The whole system glitched. The Black woman has stopped apologizing, stopped over explaining. The Black woman has selected herself. Scientists call it decoherence. The moment a quantum system stops behaving the way it always has, maybe that's all healing is, a disruption, a rebellion, a particle deciding the experiment ends here because if trauma can travel through generations, then freedom should be able to too. If fear can echo through bloodlines, then joy can too. If survival can be inherited, then maybe, just maybe, I can become the first particle in the chain to send different information back to the source.
They said, control your breathing. Like oxygen don't come with conditions in through the skin throughout your existence. But no one mentioned air comes with a price tag, total concentration. I don't just breathe. I negotiate a demon's fate every inhale, a contract stamp you can't break us every exhale, proof we survived another episode of A License to Kill. Water breathing, 10th form, constant flux. I learned how to flow early as worrying where our next meal was coming from. Code switch currents that bend around bias and make our post-plantation presence palatable. Call it professionalism, but that shit feels like drowning with proper etiquette. Thunder breathing, first form. Violence hits like thunderclaps, they flash. Another name, turn headline to hashtag into freaking memory before bodies are cold enough for coroner slabs. Mist breathing. Some folks can't see past driving while black. Too hoodie to be in this neighborhood. Body cam footage was damaged. Like reality's gotta be edited before it's believed. Like dying ain't enough. But we've been proficient in just getting by ain't living, nor is it becoming another debate show bullet point like your life was a fucking opinion. Beast breathing, 7th form, spatial awareness, reading rooms like predator sense movement, cause survival ain't always graceful. Sometimes it's fangs and jugular veins before upper ranks make you another body they explain away. Flame breathing, control burn, since 4-alarm fire is a language every system speak fluently. I use this inheritance as accelerant. This ain't chaos, it's conditioning. Stone breathing, 5th form, arcs of justice. Held my breath long enough watching my ancestors get slaughtered for theirs. So now they breathe through me, make this melanin heavy, deadly. Sound breathing, 1st form, roar, to ensure their names stay on your lips, cause silence has a body count. This ain't art, it's evidence. Love breathing means revolutionary devotion. In a world that profits off breaking us with that we still here kind of recklessness. Sun breathing, final form. Long before they taught us to shrink our voices indigo, tobacco and shackles, truth was our first technique. They told me control your breathing. So I forged it into a weapon. Now every inhale is resistance, every exhale a Nietzschean rebellion. So when I go, it won't be quiet. I'll sound like generations breathing together.
Son. It's cold in here. There must be some Trumpers in the atmosphere. It didn't hit me. that I was raised in a Republican household until both of my parents voted for Trump. I could hand deliver the Epstein files to my mom. She'd deny their existence unless I was a Fox News host redacting grab women by the pussy. Dad doesn't parlay politics with me. He always lavishes his Manhattans to the brim with acid. Brr. It's cold out here. There must be some Trumpers in my parents say they love me and cheer for ICE in the same sentence. They've never known heat to understand what cold really is. I've nightmared myself stiff arming huggable trees, my body hung high up enough that my parents hooking our politics, trying to dog wood into gallows, can't hang me in the forest like a hung jury in a Salem trial. I don't know if my parents' love for me is a phenomenon or an affliction, like a bureaucrat's ordinance wrapped around a womb, timber yelling lawmakers chopping women down with ease, is Paul Bunyan cosplaying as Swamp Thing, because fuck the environment we come from. I still come from a Black woman. I still say burn. It's cold. I still come from a Black woman. No quagmires on a highway hike to a hollowed out heaven to tread my face into. Can't convince me that I'll see the silhouettes of my white parents in my reflection while they're praising Haymaker Hale for pummeling watering holes into a tourist submission. So, Mom, ask Lake Lanier to tell you what happened to Oscarville. Dad, you can't Trump Tower my Manhattan taste test with fabricated ice. Y'all can't move Fossa my skyline. Uncoil the firmament, fashion it into a whip, call it a coastline for the horizon when a Black body is murdered during an ice storm, and no one around shares your morals. Mom, do you salt sidewalks hoping for liquidation from dusk to dawn? Dad, do you take a stand your ground defense like a snowman built over a fire hydrant when y'all say you love me? I look in the freezer to see if the ice trays are empty or full of acid. Brr. It's cold being an interracial adoptee. There is no underground ice skating rink railroad back to when I didn't know what a Republican was. Have you ever considered how your votes iced me into blueprints for a ransacked treehouse confined by a chalk outline? Americanization is trafficking my body through the lumber trade. I am the wood and the chattering teeth, facing sleet slated to slay the innocent, creating chilled to the bone cadavers out of unsuspected saplings. Mom, Dad, why am I still not American enough for you to love me without using my Blackness to stoke your dry ice voting booth cognizance? I said, brr, it's cold at home. Oh, wee, oh, ice, ice, ice.
The day before your life changes always feels like any other day. Out west, blue skies bend for miles. Treeless mountains paint postcard pictures, but I don't know the memories these paper walls whisper when the wind brews. The rain comes random in the evenings, soft until God can't hold the sound of your name on my lips anymore. The winter, it rages, longing of spring kisses that never stayed a while enough to get used to again. Thoughts change direction, trying to find a reality to settle into. It reminds me of our love. We didn't tarry long enough to reap the harvest of the hardest years of our lives or bask in the shade of the trees whose roots were watered with tears of goodbye. We never said goodbye out loud. We counted calendar days, playing gods like we knew the future. Weren't we funny in our faith? Silly and simply believing time stopped as long as we stayed awake. We made the days melt, made Sunday mornings holy in our brokenness. But out west, the seasons change just often enough and long enough for my heart to thaw and remember the home it used to hold in yours. It's trying to find its way back, and the memories bite. I get lost sometimes. The cascade of your laughter, feel of your hand on the small of my back, the blanket of your arms when the darkness found me frozen. I'm starting to forget, and it scares me. And I wonder if I could have loved you differently, enough to ease the pain of missing you. Aren't I manic in my request, but you forgot to teach me how to cry these kind of tears. They come innocently, and then all at once. I want to forgive you for breaking my heart. I don't believe it was intentional, more subtle, like scratching at a scab you didn't know could still bleed. Our future was beautiful in the strength of its fantasy, and on that, I believed in a tomorrow for 12 nights. The day before your life folded into itself felt like any other day. It's where I choose to remember you. I left you last laughing, smiling the kind of smile you knew as a boy on Grace Street, on hardship and haiku, on the kind of faith to be lent to those lacking, rich in the luxury of love. I will repent in the morning if you will forgive me for not coming back. If you will forgive me for breaking the promise you didn't want to make. If you will forgive me for breaking your heart first. Because it wasn't intentional. It was more slow, like the progression of time we thought we had left together. I thought we had forever, and you made me believe we did. Maybe we do. I only ever asked you to wait for me. You said you would. But in eternity is intimidating when every moment stands still in the silence of your absence. And I find myself waiting to be awoken from this dream, waiting for you to tell me it's okay, you're here, but you're not here anymore. And I still can't wrap my mind around this reality. This today will last longer than a poem I don't know how to finish. Longer than a goodbye I'm not sure I can say out loud, than tears that remind me they aren't done falling, they are stronger than me. Find me fragile and weak, and I don't want to be. But I fear if they stop, I will have forgotten you. So I refuse to finish this poem, because if I do,
Nowadays, everybody want to talk like they got something to say, but nothing comes out when they move their lips. Just a bunch of gibberish, and most folks act like they forgot about dad. Nowadays, everybody want to talk like they got something to say, but nothing comes out when they move their lips. Just a bunch of gibberish, and most folks act like they forgot about dad. Y'all know him, the same DAD who been low key, hated on by most of society, black fathers especially, get no love and no props. Got to give more respect to pops. Dad is mad because everybody got fat while he starved, trying to provide his family with groceries. Got a crib full of kids who all want snacks. Dad make them brush their teeth to avoid plaque. Boys and girls will act out and have mom stressing until she open her mouth and threaten, I'm gonna tell your dad. Nowadays, everybody want to talk like they got something to say, but nothing comes out when they move their lips. Just a bunch of gibberish, and most folks act like they forgot about dad. Show me a Knicks guard named Jalen who won NBA Finals MVP, and I'll point to a father named Rick who got all his son's trophies. Show me two sisters from Compton who grew up to capture Grand Slam tennis titles, and I'll show you a father who was vital, protecting his daughters from getting caught up in the net. Did y'all think dad was a deadbeat? Please, you better bow down to the Holy Father and pray on both knees. Who you think put Christmas gifts under the tree? Who you think makes sure there's always working batteries inside all the remotes? I'm talking about the DADDY for life, the group that defied stereotypes and said, I'm that baby's daddy. Any fool can see that little rascal belong to me. I'll be the paw of that there youngin' boss. I'm the pappy. Some dads were raised by the streets with no adult supervision. Now they out here helping children outgrow the hood, rubbing Vicks on their chest when they're not doing too good. Who's the one they told you to go see when you didn't know how to tie a tie? When the check engine light comes on in your car? When the lid's too tight and you need help opening a jar? Y'all better listen up closely. There's a spectrum when it comes to fatherhood. Some dads are a blessing. Yeah, some are no good. But even the ones who fall short will have you asking, would Michael have become king of pop without Joe Jackson? Dad go hard nonstop, and that's the reason he ain't been getting no sleep, doing his best not to flop, trying to become a new creation. But if folks don't stop hating, you're going to turn dad who got saved back into dad who want to shoot the fade. Nowadays, everybody want to talk like they got something to say. Nothing comes out when they move their lips, just a bunch of gibberish. Most folks act like they forgot about dad. So what do you say to somebody who hates Father's Day and brings negative portrayals its way? Just study a tape of DAD, catching babies thrown out of fiery windows, coming to the aid of women who get harassed by a guy, giving them the awkward eye in a parking lot, pulling booster cables out the trunk to help somebody who needs a jump. Dad will jump in front of oncoming traffic to save his offspring from a fate that's tragic. And in the aftermath of the vehicle's impact, Dad will be left with two broken legs, but he'll simply say, I'm okay. Just let me walk it off. I'm okay. Just let me walk it off. Nowadays, everybody want to talk like they got something to say, but nothing comes out when they move their lips. Just a bunch of gibberish. Most folks act like they forgot about Dad.
I think about the trees. I think about how they are used, ironically, as metaphors for family. How generations exist according to their roots. How branches are considered extensions of the bloodline. I think about the literal purpose of them, which is to help us breathe, and how that conflicts with their history. A history which assisted in taking breath away from so many. A history, I'm sure, even the trees, being a living thing, never fathomed this use of them. I think about how they were an unwilling accessory to so many crimes. Crimes against humanity, so sick that the sap has been overflowing continuously from generation to generation, repeatedly. How they were repurposed as a tool for crucifixion for those to hang and die by asphyxiation, forcefully destined as a prop in the demise of Christ, while longingly awaiting their new role, her revelation as the tree of life. How they were used to build ships that brought precious cargo to a strange land, and later laden with strange fruit by the hands of evil man, like ornaments on a Christmas tree. Do you suppose the trees suffer from tree TSD? Could the trauma been passed deep down to the roots of so many, with no option of therapy, so overwrought in their misery, their times of torment were plenty? Possibly the urge to take their own lives in order to not be accomplices anymore. It's no surprise that some ended up petrified because of their participation before. Perhaps that is what causes some of them to shrivel up and die. No wondering why. I'm amazed at the resiliency, regardless of generational trauma, that many overcome. Perhaps those are the stronger ones. They continue to bloom to spite the torment that must consume them with gloom. That they low-key throw shade on their abusers during heinous acts such as hangings and, of course, picnics that are packed as spectators are eager for the attacks for their amusement, but provided a blanket of cover over the abused, and perhaps the leaves are recording these acts as the cell phones are currently, but with no way of exposing the proof. How they were transformed and later transcribed on in regards to inhumane laws. How their cousins were later intertwined as instruments of discipline and ironically used by the very descendants of whom died by them. How they're morphed into currency, which the love of this is considered the root of all evil currently. How not enough of it could adversely cause the destruction of self. I think about the stories they could tell, the secrets they could share from those roots that have preceded them. If trees could speak.
America keeps showing its work and the math's not math. When a broken window keeps generating more outrage than a broken mother, the math's not mathing. When the arc of a moral universe bends towards justice and my people are the ones always getting bent first, the math's not mathing. When my people got ancestors who picked cotton same way we pick through verdicts, trying to find justice like we still work in masters' fields, only now the crops of grief and every season another family's forced to harvest it. My people got calluses on their spirit, generations of reaching for equality and getting handed condolences, planting hope in soil that keeps confusing black futures for burial grounds. The math's not mathing. History's been keeping footnotes on our pain. Same way it keeps knees on our necks, reducing entire bloodlines to asterisks, paragraphs in textbooks like our suffering can be summarized and trauma can be abbreviated, like my people haven't been carrying chapters they refuse to teach in classrooms. The math's not mathing. My people been giving this country blood donations for centuries, from cotton fields to cell blocks, and somehow every transfusion of freedom still leaves us fighting for breath. Explain that to me. Haven't we fertilized this soil enough with enough blood for a lifetime? And every generation keeps asking, how much more are we willing to give? At this point, the Red Cross should be named after us because my people been supplying the red long before America started counting it. The math's not mathing. Every time accountability is supposed to be added, an excuse gets substituted into the equation. Every time justice should equal consequences, somebody starts rearranging the numbers. They keep calling it mistakes. But mistakes happen once. Traditions, though, they happen repeatedly. And right now, it's integrated into their DNA like a birthright fed with a silver spoon on a silver platter because patterns produce outcomes. And my people learned a long time ago the difference. The math's not mathing. This country's memory works like selective breeding. It keeps preserving parts that look innocent while burying evidence that made innocence look impossible. Because progress only seems to move when my people push. And I'm tired of watching the same hands that built this country being told they're moving too slow. So you want to call it black fatigue. I call it carrying a country on our backs. While it keeps asking for proof we exist, then when truth shows up, you start redacting it. I call it watching history copy its own homework while still expecting extra credit. We're being handed the same problem every generation with different numbers, but the same damn answers. The math's just not mathing. We're descendants of people who turned cotton fields into classrooms. And one day, this nation's gonna have to explain why every time freedom got written down, somebody had to bleed to make the ink work. Until then, don't confuse our exhaustion for surrender because history's seen tired black people before. And every time we got tired enough, we changed the damn world.
When I say I love you to you, I'm not fucking around. When I say I love you, what I really mean to say is out of 8.3 billion people, I find you to be uniquely special. When I say I love you, what I'm trying to say is that you're that eternal flame that has kept my heart warm through living in this ice cold society, and I just want to provide that same comfort to you, that same courtesy. When I say I love you, it goes beyond the physical. I truly appreciate every nuance of you. I accept and embrace every part of you unconditionally. When I say I love you, what I'm communicating is that there is no other pair of eyes. There are no other pair of eyes I would desire to be lost in and found at the same time. No other pair of hands I would want to hold to keep from bearing from frostbite colds. No other pair of arms I would want to be embraced by because you got me feeling like I'm on cloud 9. No other pair of lips I would want to kiss because that is an experience I just can't miss. When I say I love you, that's me saying I feel safe with you. And you are safe with me. Let's grow and build something special together. When I say I love you, there's the primal urge to become a chaotic good time wizard so I can bend time and space to be able to make you smile any instant you are caught in a rough patch. When I say I love you, the point I'm trying to get across is that you have this immaculate way of making me smile and making me feel genuinely alive, seen, bubbly, giddy, hopeful, and a whole bunch of other good fun vibes. And by God, Lucifer and the universe, how I ache to be able to make you feel how I feel. When I say I love you, that is also me saying I will respect your boundaries. I stress on being upfront with comfort. I never want to put you in an undesirable situation. When I say I love you, that is another way of saying you are home to me. I got you. I strive to be your safe space, your matched energy, your safety net if you fall, your impenetrable box of secrets, your calm from any storm. When I say I love you, that is me offering you my most vulnerable part of my existence and trusting you to hold that tenderly as I fully commit to providing that same comfort. When I say I love you, just know that no matter what, I love you. Nothing is greater or bigger than my love for you. No quarrel, no trial, no tribulation. At the end of the day, my heart just simply comes back to you. My desire to keep growing and building will not cease, and I firmly believe in our ability to communicate through anything. With that being said, I love you, boo. So damn much.
Wade in the water. Wade in the water, children. Wade in the water. God's gonna trouble the water. My mama say Jesus be a fence. Bless the rod that beat the child, and I bet not take offense. She said sin could make you sick. And healing only happens if you trust God to evict those demons from your life. And my mama ain't never been holy, ain't never been a saint. Got 3 different baby daddies, but quick to tell me I ain't shit because I'm gay. So here we are. Living a truth that has caused us both to lose the ones we love. Me, because I'm real with myself. Her, because she feels God comes before anyone else, even her daughter. The first one to ever exit from her womb. Raising me while also raising her inner child. Learning how to be a parent while still being a little girl. I taught her everything. The meaning of true love, true heartbreak, true regret. She never fails to tell me that God ain't through with me yet, so now I'm tainted. Trying to understand how the creator made her hate everything I am, like I ain't holy. Made precisely in his image, tough like Adam with a mind of my own like Eve, but maybe that's why she don't understand why I'm not ashamed to be me. Ain't it funny? How a sinner be the one to cast the first stone. They say homosexuals will never enter into the kingdom of heaven. Won't feel the breeze from beneath God's wings. How my mama forgive the family pedophile before forgiving me. That's crazy. To go from being her little girl to just a minor memory in her world. That's when I promise to always live my life out loud in this poem. Be a reminder written out to myself. Dear mama, thank you so much for teaching me to swim. Knowing a lesser version of me could have drowned in the hate that you washed me in, but I conquered each and every wave of self-doubt, learning to float above your sea of disappointment. I am worthy of everything God has placed in front of me. I be divined, crowned in the victory of the King, and this be your sign to remember Psalms 127, verse 3, and consider the kind of mother that God actually meant for you to be while I continue to wade in the water. Wade in the water, children. Wade in the water. Poem. I love that poem. I love that Medusa is here as my audience of one, period. Even though it's many of us, the live audience is eating. Um, and so I feel like as a queer person, everything I do is queer because I'm queer. Like everything I do is black because I'm black. And black people aren't a monolith. That's just speaking for me and my lived experience. And so I'm trying to do this thing where I write more queer poems. That's like a big thing for me right now. I'm like, all right, write more queer poems. And I keep starting them and not finishing them. So I'm gonna give y'all the two I got that's finished. Yeah, so this is In Between the Margins, which talks a lot about domestic violence in the queer community, which is something I feel like isn't highlighted enough. It's not that I don't see cases. I do. I do see cases that break the news, make the news either locally or nationally, but it is rare. And the amount of abuse happening in our community is rampant. Especially because people are like, oh, it's two girls or it's two boys, so it's not that bad. No, actually, it's kind of worse for real because the violence is normalized. So the couples are fighting each other and then staying together, right? For years of an on and off abuse cycle that ends in death for so many. And so many of those cases and friends that I've had that I've lost did not make the news. I keep seeing battered women in headlines, basking in the broken bones of their stories, taking in the tales of their tattered tomorrows, while the media keeps covering the carnage. Can't turn the news on without seeing a dead body or a dream relationship become a nightmare or a funeral dedicated to her death and his downfall because society has already deemed hitting women wrong, created laws around it and named it illegal, made space in jail cells and called it a crime. So whenever a man decides that his hands crave turning a victim's life into nothing more than a eulogy, we always side with the woman. But only if her domestic looks the way that they want it to. And I guess that doesn't apply here because here I never needed a man to be a victim. Here I never received the right to be holy, but I did earn the right to be prayed, and I prayed every night not to become one. It's funny how when lesbians fight, it's always labeled passionate, perceived a game, like pain don't feel the same when a rainbow's attached to it, like a war ain't a war if dick ain't the first order of business. And I guess that's just like America deciding who can and cannot become a casualty. And I wish that we didn't look at this so casually, because if there ain't a man around to blame, then who else do we hold accountable? I hate how the fist that blackened my eyes knew being a woman would shield her from being called a storm, shadow her from being deemed a threat, as if having the ability to give life exempts keeps you from taking one, like breasts will keep a killer from performing an execution, like a womb ain't enough fuel to turn love into a landmine, like a villain ain't a villain if she wears heels to the slaughter, like it doesn't even matter that I'm a punching bag when the body doing the bruising ain't built like a man, when the 1 in 4 statistic doesn't cover gay relationships, because who gives a damn about 2 women who chose to sin like this? Treating my sexuality as a choice, using who I love as a reason not to protect me from them. And I know that this ain't why rules were made, because my kind ain't never been the people you create laws for, only caskets that keep us from sharing our stories.